Yeah, well, thanks for being here, Mariam. Thank you for sitting next to a window so the lighting is good enough to see your face.
Hey,
Usually,
no problem.
you, for all most of your calls or most of the time I'm on a call and you're on it, it's just like you're always in a different spot. You're in a different spot in
I
the house.
am. I am because you know how they say like to make like a workspace, but that's pretty impossible having a 2-year-old son
Yeah,
to have like a designated work spot because you start having it and then the toys accumulate and all of that. So I just kind of move around from like whatever's the cleanest at the time
that's awesome.
and the least messy.
You don't have like a desk or like a place where you have your computer or stuff like that.
No, no, we moved in this place. Um, it was either end of December or beginning of January. So we've only been here for a few months. And a lot of things happened since then. So we didn't like buy a lot more furniture than what we have currently. So no, we were thinking about buying a desk, but as you know, Power always has some kind of promo every quarter. So I was waiting for my Amazon money to come
Uh,
in
yeah.
to order a desk. Yeah, that's how that's how I plan my furniture purchases,
I
depending
gotcha.
on how much money I have on Amazon. Yeah.
Hmm. Cool. So you and I met. Well, you came into our training class, and like a lot of people did, and introduce yourself and put your number up on the thing, and um, you were one of many. Where once you left, Carlos was like, "Okay, like get to know her. She's like very good at what she does. She has a way of like he said that you would hypnotize people with your what was it, pleasant persistence." Like, because he was talking to Jackie, and because he saw a lot of the same in her, and he talked about your ability to as you say, bulldoze through people in like the most polite, like kind-hearted way with like a high pitched voice, and that laugh is part of it too.
Yeah, all I'm thinking about is like this is gonna be on YouTube and people can see this. Like the homeowners, like I'm not bulldozing. No, I'm just kidding. But no. So when my first day of training, when they were explaining the scrubbing process, and they like he didn't go in too much detail. Carlos didn't because he wanted us to focus on the actual pitch and the words of it. But when he was talking about tonality, I was like, oh, this reminds me of ASMR. And I was like, do you guys know what ASMR is? Because I'm always kind of, do you know what ASMR is?
I don't. I was gonna ask you that after this.
Okay. So ASMR is a weird thing, right? It is a newer phenomenon, but there's certain people that get tingles, like head tingles, from either like the way you talk or your hand movements, like your gesturing. Like you can literally be like mesmerized almost. Like it's a very relaxing feeling
Hmm.
and it's a non-sexual feeling. It's like a very like non-threatening, very like weird thing. But people don't didn't really talk about it at all. And the way I discovered it was through somebody else because I told them that I fall asleep watching like people putting makeup on and they were like, oh, so you must get ASMR. I was like, what is ASMR? And then that's what it is. Like there are certain tonalities that you can use and hand movements and like presence that you have is like kind of like a quiet, nurturing type of like situation.
Hmm.
So when they were explaining how to like go from one tone to another when you're scrubbing, I was like, oh, this is almost like ASMR. So then Carlos said that he used to watch ASMR to fall asleep. And then I even like did a whole training about it. But it's just about like how you establish like eye contact, your hand movements, your gesturing, how your tone goes, like from being like high alert for you to like grab their attention to kind of lower, like relaxed, very soothing tones. So that's what it is.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that I'm sure there's, like you just said, there are a lot of little tiny things that you think about and work on to combine to just this level of, I guess, what the definition of confidence is. So, like, I don't want to use the word confidence because we all kind of know what it is, but you can kind of see when you're pitching people and talking to people and kind of just in general, you're very, you're not questioning yourself. Like you're very, like whenever you're doing something, like you know what you're doing. And I guess again, that is the definition of confidence, but it's sort of like a trust thing where like I've you've never pitched me. I've never been a homeowner that you've pitched, but uh, I imagine that you give this sense that like, okay, like she will lead me, she will steer me in the right direction. Like this will be okay.
Yeah, it's a weird thing because like people describe me in that way, but that's not something that I would necessarily describe myself as.
Hmm.
And that's something that I hear from a lot of different people that I come off as very confident. What it is that I feel like I'm comfortable in myself. And so that's a very positive thing. It can be a very positive thing and it can be a very negative thing because when you're that comfortable being who you are, you don't grow as easy. So
You're resistant to
you,
change.
you are resistant to change, and like everybody has like insecurities, and everybody has vices, and everybody has bad habits or bad traits that they have. But I think I dwelled on them so much, like when I was growing up, that I learned how to accept them so well over time that I'm just okay with that. But that's not growth, you know? Um, that's the downside of it. Like, I'm so okay with myself is that when I need to grow, like when I need to get better, it's really hard because, like, especially in relationships, like that is one thing that we can't, like, that's a recurring theme of my vice is that I am so like okay with myself and all of my bad traits that it's hard for me to grow. It's hard for me to be better. So, I see why like it can be seen as a positive thing because it makes me look confident, even though that's not necessarily the word I would use. Um, but in there's a downside of to it. So, you know.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's really difficult to find that balance because, and I forget who I was talking to about this, but one of my previous podcasts with this past week, we were talking about the same thing. It's like you don't want to be so insecure that you're constantly doubting every move you're making, but
Hmm.
you gotta you if you're constantly just focusing on like was that the right thing, like you'll be oh wait, no, I just said the same thing twice. So
Yeah,
you can't constantly like overanalyze every single situation, everything that you say, because then that just doesn't breed confidence, and you'll constantly be questioning yourself. But at the same time, that can, you don't want to stem too far on the other direction because there's always room for improvement, and no
yeah,
no one is perfect. Like
no,
no matter.
yeah, that's very true. And when you accept your imperfections this much, it's really hard to force yourself to grow. So, yeah. Hey, I'm just like, I decided to be really honest on this podcast. So,
Well, I
there we
appreciate it,
go.
of course.
Okay.
Thank you for not, uh Miriam, you don't have to tell me everything, just don't lie to me, okay?
All right. Sounds good.
um so I got a couple questions for you. You are obviously an immigrant. I don't know if that's politically incorrect to say, but you don't
No, that's what I am.
you don't hide it
That's a
well.
very political.
I'm just kidding.
I'm so sorry.
um
Yeah.
so I mean, I love, like, even in the store, like I love talking to someone who's not from the United States, and I know, there's a time and a place, but one of my favorite questions to ask someone with an accent is like, "Oh, where you from?" And people take that differently, and some people get offended by that, and that's another conversation. But like, I just genuinely love hearing stories. It's like you come from a different country and now you live here. Like, what brought you here? What is your? I love that. I don't know. It's one of my favorite things. Um, So for people who don't know, and I don't really know, would you be able to give like a brief summary of your travels and why you came here?
Yeah, sure. I love talking about that part of my life because that is like definitely the biggest part of my story. I was born in the country of Georgia. That's a very small country north of Turkey, Armenia, and Azerbaijan, and south of Russia. It has its own language. You know, I grew up speaking Georgian. I was born right after Soviet Union collapsed, so you know it was a lot of different things going on. So I always knew that I didn't want to live there. Like, since I was a little kid, I started learning English when I was 6 years old. And, you know, I had heard of stories of other exchange students. And, like, since I was a little kid, I knew that that's what I wanted to do. Like, I wanted to go somewhere else. Um, and I did. I was a flex exchange student, which means I came here for free. The United States government funded my first
Nice.
my first trip here, my first year here. I was a junior in high school. I was 16 years old. Um, I came to San Antonio, Texas. I stayed with a random family that I didn't know, and I went to high school. And after a year here, I realized, yes, this is where I want to live.
Hmm.
So I went back home, graduated high school. While I was in high school, that's like my last year of high school. That's when had my first job working in sales. I was working as a telemarketer. I was going to high school during the day, going to work like from 6 to 2 a.m.,
In Georgia?
selling over the phone in Georgia. Yeah,
Okay.
to save enough money so that I could afford to come back and pay for school, pay for my flight because my parents definitely could not afford it
Hmm.
at the time. And I managed to save enough money to be able to do that. Um, I went back to San Antonio, went to university there. I studied journalism. That's a very bad choice. But I don't regret going to school. Obviously, there was no other way for me to come here. And then you know, just like life happened, I had to work. The only jobs I could get as an immigrant were like sales jobs. So I worked in a mall selling hair straighteners in a kiosk. Then this kiosk went into a spa. Then you know, I went from just a salesperson to a manager, and was managing this salon spa slash type of place. And I met my husband. That was 5 years ago, and that's how I ended up here in Maryland. So that's kind of like a short story
That's
of
beautiful.
my travels.
Um, you said that so the year that you spent here when you were 16, 17,
Mm-hmm.
you said I knew, I
Six,
knew
17. Yeah.
you said I knew right away that like this is where I wanted to live. What about this place? What about this country made you realize that this is where you wanted to spend your life?
It's just like the little things, the comfortable things that on a day to day you don't even realize. Like obviously there's other things too, like freedom of speech. You know, when I was coming here, my country was going through a war with Russia. Like the day that I landed, so I landed here August 6, 2008. August 8, 2008, Russia invaded another part of Georgia. So
Mm,
like there's obvious things like, you know, there was a war going on, no freedom of speech, three governments overthrown since I've lived there,
yeah.
two civil wars since I lived there. Just those are just basic things. Just to be able to, you know, the American dream, like you can earn as much as you want if you put in hard work, et cetera, et cetera. But also little things that I don't appreciate enough, like air conditioning, good windows.
Yeah.
You know, my parents still have, you know, one pane wood windows. It's really noisy at night. Like every time somebody drives, there's drunk people getting home at 3 a.m. waking you up. Like little things. They've had the same disgusting elevator in the same building that was probably built in the 40s, and it's like a high rise, like 12-story building. I just visited after 6 years of not being there, and this is like the most dangerous thing I had to do was going that elevator because it keeps shaking and it smells because people have peed and thrown up there thousands of times. Nobody cleans it.
Oh my
All of
god.
the buttons are like burned because somebody just decided to burn them with a lighter. You never have a parking spot. You always have to parallel park, and just driving there is ridiculously hard because there are no stop signs. If there's like non-major intersections, like you just have to just kind of figure it out on your own.
Hmm.
Um, just like little things. Like public transportation is the smelliest thing. They have these. Like, they're not even buses. Like they're just like large vans,
Hmm.
and they will like shove people in like sardines. Doesn't matter how many get there because they each pay something. So like they'll have them standing, they'll have them like laying on top of each other. It's the smelliest thing in the world, and just like little things like that. There's
Yeah.
so many little comfortable things that we don't appreciate day to day. And I mean, I guess we do more now because we're all stuck at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, yeah, I
Yeah.
can go on forever. So
For sure. I mean, I think it's it sounds like it's kind of hard to put into words because it's again like a combination of a countless number of little things that you
yeah.
probably wouldn't be able to do if you lived somewhere else. And um, about a year ago on my one of my podcasts that I have, I interviewed one of my best friends' moms who was born and raised in Afghanistan, and
Mhm.
she had to escape. Like her family literally had to get smuggled out of Afghanistan and come to the United States to start a new life. And you know, you I'm not like a super patriotic guy by any means. I don't have like an American flag on my car. Uh, Not that there's anything wrong with that, but that's just not
No,
my thing.
no.
But like if you had a list of every country that ever existed, or excuse me, that exists right now, and you just picked one at random, it's very, very likely that you pick a country that you would not rather live in than the United States. Like the amount of opportunity and safety and security that we have, and it's certainly not perfect, but there's just so much that we have available to us
But
that
it's a lot better than a lot of other places. Yeah.
yes, yes.
Yeah.
And she told me, oh, I brought her up because she told me a story where she liked to jog as a kid. She really liked to jog because their family was poor and they didn't have a TV, they didn't have video games or anything like that. So she would like to go jogging for exercise because she could see the neighborhood and stuff. And she said that one of the worst days of her life as a kid, because she didn't really understand what was going on between the war and the invasions and everything, was when her her dad said she couldn't go out and run anymore. She couldn't jog because it wasn't safe. There were bombings in the neighborhood. Her neighbor got blown up in a car just one day, like one of her friends from school. And it was a couple of years back. It was a couple summers ago. But I was running around my neighborhood. I was going for a jog, and I thought of that, and I was like, man, like, and I looked around and I just saw like my suburban neighbors, like watering their flowers and like getting in and out of cars, people walking on the other side of the road, and I was just like, man, this is this can't happen other places. You can't do what I'm. It's something as simple as just going for a run, like cannot happen in other places, and we don't think about that when we're doing these things. And I like how you brought it up. I like how you brought up um, how relevant it is now because it's like simple stuff that we were doing 3 months ago that we weren't thinking about. We miss so much now, you know.
Yeah.
Um, what would you say is the worst part about being an immigrant?
Just that you kind of have to hide it sometimes. I think that's the
Hmm.
worst part.
What do you mean?
Especially considering what we do. We have to talk to a lot of people, and I'm always like careful because I don't know what people's opinions are about immigrants or immigration or
Mm,
um, you know, it's just something that's in the back of my head.
yeah.
Um, always. So I don't always volunteer the information, just in case. It's like I was just at Lee's training about warm up, and they were talking about how there's like hot buttons. And just not to, he said that he's Jewish and he doesn't like volunteer that information to people because there's some people who don't like Jewish people, and
Hmm.
he doesn't want that to stop him from selling something, um, and just like not to volunteer your religion and your political opinions because like
Yeah.
people will hold that against you. So it's not like an opinion that I hold or a religion, like that's just who I am, like I wasn't born here. So it's not necessarily something that I can change. I've been told that I have an accent, right? And I know I probably have it. I just don't hear it. Like I think I sound just like everybody else, but apparently I sound different.
It's not
But
thick.
yeah, so yeah, I'm not like embarrassed of it at all. Like I love the fact that I am an immigrant. I think it gives me a perspective that I'm very privileged to have. Like not a lot of people have had the two perspectives. And I'm very happy about it. I'm not in any way ashamed of it, but I that's the worst thing I would say is that you just don't know. You just don't know until you like kind of get to know a person, how much information I would divulge and let them know. Because like I did come here originally on a grant, basically. So I when I first came here, I was 16 years old, and like I did not pay for it.
Mm,
U.S. government did pay for it, um, and it is taxpayers' money. And now I am here, and now I am taking the job. You know what I mean? Like
hmm.
it's just a lot of different ways to look at it. But yeah, that is it. That is the worst part.
If you don't mind me asking, have there ever been situations or occasions where you've run into, you know, a a time where you wished that someone didn't know that you were an immigrant?
So, not really. I wouldn't say that anybody has been like has said anything that was against me per se, but I have talked to people that will talk about immigration in a very cavalier, very, dismissive way.
Mm,
And just kind of, so this is going to be a very, I don't want to get this political, but, like there's a certain way people feel that they deserve something over immigrants because purely for the reason that they were born here. But as far as I'm concerned, the reason I wanted to come to this country is because, give me your poor, your all that. So,
mhm, mhm,
I thought when I was coming here that this was a country that welcomed immigrants and it was based on immigrants. And it was the most welcoming of immigrants. But the more time I spent here, the more I found out that not everybody thinks so. Not that it is not, because like I can attest to it. Like I love living here, and I have managed to have a wonderful life living here as an immigrant. But I do think that sometimes people think that I I took something away from somebody else.
mm.
Not always. It's very rare, and it's never been like directly said to me, but it's just something that is said in general.
Yeah,
So, you know.
I feel you. I feel you.
I'm
Um,
trying, I'm trying to be as correct, politically correct as I can.
yeah,
Do you
well,
like the tent? That's my son sounds tent behind you.
I do like it. I thought you were sitting in, like, a gamer
This is
chair.
a tent. Yeah.
You're
No.
also I don't
No,
know.
I'm sitting on the floor. This is a tent behind me.
You're kinda breaking up. I don't know if you're in a place that has weak internet connection, but, like, there's a little bit of
No.
lag and delay on
Oh.
your part. But I don't exactly remember how we left it before this transition, but I think it's safe to say, politics aside, like, if you get to meet you and we see, like, your family and how you're doing at work and how you communicate with other people, like, this this place is a better place because you are here, and I'm very glad that
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you.
of course, of course. I wanted to ask you, Miriam, what is something that everyone loves that you think is super overrated?
Oh, I have a very easy answer to that, and that's Reese's Pieces, Reese's Cups, and just any kind of combination of chocolate and peanut butter is just gross to me. It
Really?
really is not good.
Huh.
Anything else with peanut butter and anything else with chocolate is great. Chocolate pretty much goes with anything else but peanut butter, and peanut butter with apples, peanut butter with jelly, great. It's just chocolate and peanut butter. It really textural way, just taste. It just should not be together.
That's
But
crazy. That's crazy. This is an interesting time because that's the first time I've asked that question to a guest and they've said something that I they said a thing that I love. Uh, but
okay.
you can't
What
you don't pick what you find what like tastes good to you. That's not really something that you have control over.
so I'm a late believer in peanut butter, period, because it took me a while. We don't have peanut butter where I'm from, and when I first came here, I thought it was gross. But I slowly grew to love it. I love peanut butter. I just can't. I try it every year. I really do. Every year I try because your taste bud change.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I try to have Reese's cups, but they're just disgusting to me.
Hmm,
it needs something else.
fair enough. Hey, I mean, I can't say you're wrong. That's what tastes that's what tastes good to you or it doesn't. I think it is crazy though to bring it back to being from a different country, like not being exposed to certain foods. Um, it's just not something that's in your lexicon. It's not something that is it's in your mind. So then if you experience it later, you're like, what the fuck is this? I wonder how many people taste something and are like, oh, like what is this? Like I had what is it from Australia? It's god damn it, what is it? It looked you put it on sandwiches. It's like a brown.
Oh yeah, Mar something. Marmite? Is it Marmite? No.
Vegemite.
Vegemite. Yes.
Vegemite, yes. I tried that when I was in Germany when I was 20 years old for the first time because I studied with someone who was from Australia, and she loves it, and I thought it was just disgusting. Like it just didn't make sense to my taste buds and my brain, and I was like, well, what if I grew up in Australia? There's no saying that I would definitely enjoy it, but like I think there's something to like you didn't like peanut butter at first because you never tried it as a kid. I guarantee if you like it now, you would have loved it at a much younger age if you were exposed to it.
Probably.
And
Also, another weird thing that I just discovered. When I was a kid, I used to love watermelon, and my grandma used to put salt on it, and I thought it was so gross.
hmm,
And then I just had a watermelon yesterday, and I was like, some salt on this would be great. And I tried it with salt, and it's really delicious now. So you just never know.
it is crazy, and I wonder what the science is behind like how long it takes you to like certain things. You know, I didn't like mushrooms my entire life until I don't know, it was 21. But like I had eaten them. I knew what they tasted like my whole life, and it took in 21. It's like something just snapped, and I was like, okay, I like these now. These are good, and I enjoy this. I don't know. Get on it, scientists. Um, that's a that's a great answer to that question. Next question I'm going to ask you is usually like the deepest one that I've been asking people, and it's uh, what's a traumatic experience that you've been through that you wouldn't want to repeat that has significantly impacted your life for the better?
So I don't know if this is considered experience per se, but just experiencing poverty as a child. Obviously, I wouldn't want that again,
Yeah,
but I think it did impact my life and my drive to have a better life in a wonderful way. you know, like I remember when the second government was overthrown. So um, this was sometime like in early 2000s, and my grandfather lost his job. He used to work in government, and he went from like having a lot of money to having none. And they had to, rent their house that they owned out to rent like a really really small apartment. And they didn't have like your regular like heating system. They just had like a firewood oven or whatever, that
like a
only heat
furnace.
up like, yes, that one. only only heat up the kitchen area, but the bedroom was like on the opposite side of the apartment. So what my grandma would do, she would put the coals in a like in this iron in like a, I don't know how to describe it, but it's not an electric iron. It was just an iron that you put coals in, and that's how it heats up.
Hmm.
And she would iron our sheets at night so that when we got in bed, it would feel warm, so it wouldn't feel really
Oh
cold.
man.
It was awesome. Like that was literally like that's also one of my favorite memories, you know. But I remember really bad poverty. Like I have not forgotten it. Like I remember it was always a question of what we were gonna eat next, and like, are we
Mm.
gonna have enough money for everything? And it was, I guess, it's traumatic. I don't know if that's. I don't feel traumatized by it. I think that's why I always wanted to live here, and I think that's why I always knew that you know I would I would be able to rely on myself one day, and I didn't want my kids to ever have to worry about food. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's beautiful. I guess maybe I should reword the question and not use traumatic and just use negative, like something that you went
Yeah, I
through.
guess. Because, trauma, I feel like maybe I'm thinking of trauma the wrong way, but I don't think that there's anything that I think impacted me in a positive way that is still traumatic.
Yeah, yeah. I guess,
Yeah.
and people's go to with trauma. Not that like everyone's gone to it when I've asked them on this podcast, but a lot of people's go to is like a death. Okay, who died, and
I
like
know, like I really want to knock on wood, but I don't have any wood around me, but I like literally everybody in my family is alive.
yeah,
I hope it stays that way. My great grandpa's still alive. All four of my grandparents still alive. Both
that's
my
pretty rare.
parents,
That's pretty rare.
all of my
Four
uncles and
grandparents.
aunts. Yeah, four grandparents still alive. So with Georgians, they get married pretty young. So
Mm,
I mean, one of my grandma is significantly older than my grandpa. She was 40 and he was 24 when they got married. So she's the only older one. But everybody else is in their 60s. So
mm.
they're pretty young.
But to go back to what you said, I mean, it kind of relates back to everything we've been saying and like what's going on right now. Like you don't really appreciate something until you have something to compare it to. It's
Hmm.
kind of like why you fell in love with this country because when you came here, you were comparing it to your own and you were experiencing the differences that you like the things that were available to you that weren't available to you, uh, you know, in Georgia, and you know, experiencing like not knowing what you're going to eat next. That's insane. Like that's something that a lot of people, you know, people who don't experience that, they don't really appreciate food. You appreciate food more when you've gone through times where you don't know what, like, if you'll be able to eat food, you know.
Son, I appreciate food way too much though. A little too much. But yeah.
um, you don't appreciate having a car that you can drive to your friend's house until, you know, COVID-19 happens and you are stuck in your house. You don't appreciate, I don't know, the list goes on and on. Like, once you're able to compare it to something that is not as that's not as good, and I'm not knocking Georgia. I've never been, you know. Next time you go, let me know. I'll join you. Um, but yeah, I think that's a beautiful answer, and especially because a lot of people who experience poverty, there's a lot of luck involved, but like they kind of stay there, and it's really cool how you let it just impact your work ethic, how much you care about improving yourself and making sure that you and the people that you love um, don't go through don't go through that. So I think it's brilliant. You know, I I've never starved, but I came pretty damn close at the end when I studied abroad in Germany. I was 20 years old. I did not know anything about budgeting my money. I didn't prepare well enough, and I studied abroad in Germany. And toward like the last month or so, I ran out of money. Like, I just straight up ran out of money, and I was so embarrassed. I did not ask my family members or anybody for money, and so I would have to like plan out my meals, and
Oh.
um like, I literally had rations, and there were a few days where I couldn't eat because I had to like go every other day. I was like, okay, well, I won't eat Thursday because I'll eat Wednesday and Friday. And um I was eating like peanut butter sandwiches, and then like when things got really bad, just peanut butter on one slice of bread. Like, that's the one thing I would eat in a day. And it sounds crazy because it's like, like, it was just that was just like a certain
Yeah.
a special case. But man, I was like, I was hungry, like I was starving. um
Yeah. Wow.
and I don't know, it feels weird to talk about because it's not like I'm like an underprivileged individual, but at that time I really was starving. And like my brain changed. I was like, all I was thinking about was how can I get food? Like, can I scheme my way into getting food? Like, maybe I can get food for free this way. I almost considered like stealing something because it changes the way that you think. Anyway, when I got back here, and since that day, since I got back, I like experienced what it is to not know what you're going to eat or if you're going to have food, even for a small time. Um, and since then, you made a joke about appreciating food, but like, I try every single meal. I try to eat every single thing that's on my plate because it's not every single time, but I just constantly think back to how horrible it was to not know, like, if I would eat. And I think a lot of other people go through that same situation, and with things that aren't even food. It's like, is my family going to be safe tomorrow? You know, and then you experience safety, and then it means something totally different to you than a kid who grows up in a safe house his whole life. You know what I'm saying? Is any of this
Yeah.
making sense?
Yeah. No, for sure.
Cool. I just want to make sense. Um,
No, it really does.
but last question, Miriam. On a much lighter note, I uh, I was curious as to when was the last time you laughed so hard that you cried?
So, to be honest, I'm not a laugh crier person. Like, it almost has never happened.
Have you ever laughed
The
before?
I do occasionally. It happens to me once in a while,
I want to see
but
it.
um, the like honestly, the last biggest laugh I've had was I was watching The Office, and it was the first time that I like paid attention to this joke. But when Michael Scott thinks that he's gonna get fired because he put uh, five golden tickets in the same box, and he's telling Dwight to take a fall for him. And Dwight asks him, "What about Shulala?" It just sounded about Shulala being a fancy man's shoe store. It's just like for some reason it made me laugh. It still makes me laugh every time. But yeah, that was the last time that I really laughed.
The Office is one of the best shows ever made.
It really is. It's the best one.
That's your team name, right?
It was my last team's name. It was Bears Beast. Bears Beast Battlestar Galactica. um, but no, my new team name is Q Q2 Cuties, Q2 Cuties, because I think it's funny. But yeah.
Yeah, I totally forgot that we are in a new quarter right now and that we're on different teams.
Yep.
Well,
Yeah, we are.
yeah, it's so crazy because I just got tossed around like a piece of meat that first quarter. I've been on 4 teams. 4 teams.
On your first quarter, you were with Boylan, then you were never really with my team. You were just like put on briefly until you went back to Boylan, and then Sakai, right?
Yeah, now James.
And now James Malone. I
But
mean, hey,
technically,
yeah,
technically, I've been on 4 teams, so I have more experience than most people.
yeah, you do. You've had more mentors than most people.
um, that is funny though. Like, that's obviously that's a good joke, but I have I have had like the opportunity to, I don't know, like I like to think that I would take advantage of learning from other people without being forced on 4 different teams, but I certainly wouldn't. I never really talked to Sakai until I was on his team, and it was really cool to get to know him and extract from his teaching style and his style in general. Um, and I got to meet like Sam and Sydney and Sonia because I was on your team, which was really cool. I don't know. There are so many cool people and so many people that you have, like the big people that everyone says like you got to, like, if you want to be successful, like get to know this person, get to know this person. And that's always true. And like you're one of those people. Everyone says, "Oh, definitely get to know Miriam." I don't see it, but people say it.
Yeah,
Um
me neither.
um but I think the tricky thing is there are a lot of people who are kind of under the radar, who maybe aren't mentors, maybe aren't even team leaders, that you could really, like, certain people could really get a lot out of. Maybe they are really strong in like a weakness that you have, and they can really resonate by you watching them work, or whatever it is. um I don't know where I was going with that, but
No, agree with you so much because, obviously with Power we have a lot more of a script. But in my previous job, every time I worked with somebody, I learned a new phrase, or I would learn a new word, or like a new joke, or like literally, no matter how bad they were, there was something they did good. So no matter who you're working with, like there's something that they're good at that you can improve on. Um, or maybe there's something they're bad at that you can tell yourself not to do. So no matter who you're working with, you'll learn something with everyone.
yeah, I think that's brilliant. And I actually started doing this thing a month ago, well, a month prior to, excuse me, quarantine, where whenever I would work with somebody, it doesn't matter how good our chemistry was, how well our day went, how different we were as people. I tried to write down on the back of my pad, um, the thing that I liked most about them, like how they did their thing. And even if, you know, like even if they're new, like newer than you, just like what do you like that they did? And not that you have to copy that thing, but it makes you kind of think. Um, and sometimes it's something that's like fucking fire. I worked with David McGowan once, and you know, like we had good conversation, we had a good time, and it was an okay day. Actually, I think it was a bad day for both of us. We were in Severn, it was rough, but um,
Favorite store.
I do love Severn. No, I just meant like we happened to be at Severn, and
Yeah, yeah,
it
yeah, yeah.
was a rough day. I really like Severn, but um, I just saw like him pitch people from very far away, and he has this incredible ability to get people to stop before he starts pitching them. And I saw that and I was like, "Holy shit, you're really good at that." And he said, "Thank you. I know. That took practice." And like ever since then, I just that like I don't know if I'm rambling or if that's a like a dumb example, but since that, like since uh that day working with him, I noticed myself getting better at pitching people from further away and getting them to stop to way more people stopped to talk to me. Um, so yeah, you just pick up I'd love to hear your take on it because you've been in the business for longer than I have, and you've been um, you know you've been a mentor, you've experienced way more success. Like, are you finding yourself pick up on little things from other people that you weren't doing before?
Oh yeah, constantly. Yeah, all the time. Like I said before, power, I did it even more because there was no formal script,
Yeah.
so I could adopt like literal different scripts from other people. But here, we all have the same script, but there's little things that you'll learn from people, like um, their tones in certain situations, and like little jokes that they might be making, or just like little things. Yeah, I do constantly pick it up from everybody, no matter what their tenure is. Like you can learn stuff from anyone.
What have you learned from me, Miriam? I'm
Just
joking.
to do
You don't have to answer
just
that.
to
I'm
do
joking.
more imitations, more imitations of people to make your coworkers stay more fun.
Cool. Well, if that's what I'm teaching people, then I think I got some work
Yeah,
to do.
you're teaching people better culture, and your training thing is amazing. I just can't wait for that to be put to use. The
Training thing?
training that you developed, like the role
Oh,
playing cards.
yeah. Scott and I guess I don't know how many people are gonna listen to this, but most people don't really know. But yeah, Scott and I have been getting to work over this quarantine, and like I developed like 100 different cards. I don't know. We can
Yeah,
talk about this after.
that is amazing.
Yeah.
Like that, you're literally gonna change people's lives with that. It's pretty awesome.
Well, Miriam, I wasn't ready for that compliment, but I do appreciate it. Um, but no, I appreciate a lot of things. I appreciate getting to know you. You're great to work with. Like whenever I see on the when the schedule gets posted, like the next day it says Dylan slash Miriam, I'm like, yes, hell yeah, I know it's gonna be a good
It's
day.
always a fun day, isn't it? Yeah.
It is a fun day. We have a lot of laughs, and um, it's said a lot. And I know I'm like just complimenting you in front of your face, but if anyone's listening, like it really is a joy, and it really is beneficial to see you work because you do things that you do a lot of things that I've never seen anybody else be able to do. And you're constantly raising the bar, and I appreciate you sitting down, telling me more of your story. It's something that I've been interested in for a while, but I never really knew how to bring it up to you or to sort of ask you. I don't know. It's just like, what's up, Miriam? Can you? Oh, when did you come to this country, and what was it like? I don't know.
Yeah, tell me about the problems you've had as a child.
um, but no, you're a great person. You're a great mentor, and uh, thank you. Thanks for sitting down and talking to me.
Thank you, Dylan. Thank you for inviting me. I feel very honored. that I'm one of the first guests, and I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. And whoever is watching this, Dylan is a lot of fun to work with. And I think like you were bringing something. I tell this to Sam all the time, right? Because when you like, and I'm gonna go on a little tangent, but hear me out. When I first started working in power, I had this like idea of the people who work there, and I was like, I want to make a lane for more women because I don't see enough women here.
Mhm.
And I say this to Sam because Sam Miller also is somebody that's making it possible for more people like him to feel at home at power. And you are the same way, Dylan. Like you're somebody different, somebody new, and you are making it possible for a lot more people that might not have felt at home at power to feel at home. So you should take a lot of credit for
Wow. I mean, that's really nice of you. I don't really know what to say. That's I've
that.
never
It's the
I've
truth.
I've never really thought about that. Like, it's not something I am doing on purpose. Um, but yeah, that's crazy. I don't know. If I keep talking, I'll just keep stumbling my way into. I'll just keep stuttering, and nothing will come out.
Okay.
But
Okay.
no, that's very nice. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that you know I I just care about having fun. Like, I want to do the job, and I take it very seriously. But it's like, at the end of the day, if you're not having fun, if you're not enjoying yourself, if you're not smiling,
Yeah.
if you're not laughing, um, and everyone has like a different level for how much they want those things. But for me, it's like I don't think I could. I don't like any place where I can't spend a lot of time smiling, laughing, enjoying the conversations I'm having. And I don't know if I have a role in that, then that's great. But I just want to make sure that people are laughing. And maybe I go too far sometimes. Like, maybe I make too many jokes, or I make a serious situation not serious. But as long as people are enjoying themselves, then that's something that I think will, in the long run, benefit everybody. So thanks for saying that. I don't know if that was a graceful way to
I know
respond,
that was great. You're doing great.
but thank you. How we doing, man? Um, no, this seems to be the part that I struggle with in these podcasts, is the ending.
Saying bye. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean, like bye. No.
no, seriously. Everyone I listen to, I'm like, God damn it, just say thank you,
So
appreciate you,
yeah,
bye.
Dylan, this was fun. This was fun. Let's do this again sometime.
Let's keep
Hey,
complimenting each other. It's so great.
hey, if you need that assertiveness, I'm right here. This was great, guys. Nice talking to all of you. If you listen to this, thank you, Dylan, for having me, and we'll see you later.
Love you, Miriam. Goodbye.
All right, bye.